Episode 143, IRONMAN 70.3 Maine with Missy Norcross. Welcome to the pursuit of the perfect race. I'm Coach Terry Wilson, and with each episode, I bring stories of athletes to you that share their experiences at races in order for you to learn how to have your perfect race. We will hear stories from athletes of all ages, abilities, and races of all distances. So regardless of where you fit in, there's something in it for you. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let the pursuit begin. Today I'm going to talk with Missy Norcross about her recent race experience at IRONMAN 70.3 Maine, where she placed first in not only her division, but also first in the women's overall division with a time of 4:44.24. This was placed on August 19th, 2018, where she got to break the tape for the women's division. Welcome to the show, Missy. I look forward to hearing about your race experience in 70.3 Maine.
Hi, thanks. Happy to be here.
So, what made you do this race?
Well, I just wanted to have a late season or later season 70.3 to do, just to put something on the calendar. I did qualify for Kona earlier this year at Lake Placid. So I didn't know that was going to happen. I had this race on the calendar ahead of time just as like a late season race. But now it's kind of morphed into my tune-up for Kona. So the timing worked out pretty well for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, this race, how was your training coming off of Lake Placid? Also talking about Lake Placid, did you know about the recovery cycle that you went through and sort of getting out for deals? What's that about?
Yeah, so I took the week after Placid off. I had one day where I did completely nothing, and then I did just really light, easy recovery for a week. I didn't really have a plan. My coach just kind of said, do whatever you feel like, do whatever feels good. So I did that for a week, and then I just rolled right back into 16 and 18-hour weeks, and leading up to Placid, my training had been like 3 weeks of build and then 1 week of recovery. But from Placid now through Kona, it's been more 2 weeks up and 1 week of recovery. So I actually had a build last week, and so going into the race with a build, and I have about 18 and a half hours this week coming off of the race, and then I'll recover next week with about between 10 and 12 hours. Yeah, so it's pretty nonstop. That's right. I did take Saturday off. I had a rest day on Saturday. So we traveled that day instead of working out.
It's about
4 hours, maybe 3.5, 4 hours. So not too bad.
Okay.
Yeah. Not really. I just wanted to, like any race, I just wanted to get out there and do the best that I could for how I was trained, and just make the most of the day. You never know what the day is going to throw at you in terms of conditions, weather, competition, anything. So I always just want to go into it and have the best race that I can for that given day. But I did have a time goal. I wanted to try to break 5 hours. I did the Syracuse half in July earlier this year. June? Was that June? I think so, right? Yeah, it was June because Placid was July. Anyway, and I had wanted to break 5 hours there, and I ended up coming in at 5:13. But that course is significantly more challenging than the main course, so I figured with the less climbing on the bike and the run that I should be able to come in under 5. So my goal was, 4:59.59, and I managed to come in at 4:44 and change. So I was really happy with that.
Wow. So how's your motivation been since Lake Placid?
It's been off and on. I was like on the high after Lake Placid for a long time. It took a long time to come down after that. And then, I've had a few days where I've just kind of been like, oh, here we go again. It kind of gets a little monotonous. I feel like I've been at it now for so long. My season started. I started training for Placid in January, so it's been a long time. But getting to Maine and having a good performance, I think, has given me just the motivation boost that I need now to get through the rest of the training leading into Kona.
Wow. Going into the training that you did since Lake Placid now, was that inside or outside, or what does that look like?
I typically train indoors on the bike, at least during the week. I have 2 key bike workouts a week on a Tuesday and Thursday, and I always do those on the trainer because I typically will get an RPM goal or a power goal for different segments of the ride from my coach. And so I do those on the trainer so that I can just control the conditions a little more and make sure that I'm hitting those goals for those workouts. And then I'm riding about 6 days a week now. So the other rides indoors during the week on the trainer are just easy spins. And again, I try to keep those inside because I don't want to go too hard if I go outside. So I just watch my heart rate and keep it nice and easy. Put a movie on, put something on TV, something like that. And then I'll do my long ride outside on a Saturday. So I'm probably only riding outside once a week. But I try to do all my runs outside because, for 2 reasons. Number one, I just like to run outside. It's fun. I love to run. I want to be outside. I don't want to be on the treadmill. And 2, it's been really, really, really hot and humid here in Massachusetts for the summer. And so I'm trying to take every second that I can to get ready for the brutal heat and humidity that I'm going to face when I get out to Hawaii.
Going into Maine here, you say so much the week before and you didn't really get into it. Were you sore or injured or tired or anything like that?
No, I mean, I felt pretty good. I think at this point I'm pretty well conditioned. My body's just used to putting in the work. So, I just felt like normal, and I probably would have done about the same amount of training even if I had just been just doing a long training weekend and not racing. So I think the intensity was a little bit more than I would have done if I weren't racing. But in terms of hours, I probably ended up doing a little bit less than I would have if I were just putting in a solid training weekend. So, I felt pretty good about it. I felt ready for it. I felt normal.
Okay. Now, going into this race, what's your daily nutrition like?
So my day-to-day nutrition is really carb focused. I just have found through trial and error that I need to get a lot of easily digestible carbs in my diet. I'm talking like white rice, bagels, oatmeal, bread, all of that kind of stuff. So I just really focus on making sure that I'm getting the adequate carbs, and I can really feel it in my energy levels in my workout if I don't carb adequately. I'm a big fan of like just eating a big salad with some chicken on top or something like that, but I have to make sure that I'm throwing like a scoop of pasta or a scoop of rice or something in there, because if I don't get the carbs that I need, I just don't perform as well as I need to. So I've definitely learned that important lesson this year in training. So yeah, that's what I do. I just focus on my carbs, and then leading into the race, I do have, I try to up the carbs for 2 days. I try to hit 500 grams of carbs for 2 days before the race. So I'm basically living on pasta and white rice and bread products for 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
So coming into this race, you traveled down before the race, right?
We actually had kind of a race weekend. My husband, who is a runner with the Greater Boston Track Club, was running one of their GPS races on Saturday in Manchester, New Hampshire. So he ran that race on Saturday. And then after that, we drove up to Maine for my race on Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah.
So whenever you got to Maine, 70.3 venue, did you have an Airbnb, hotel, what does that look like?
I had booked a hotel, and then a friend who I run with in my local running club, the Wampanoag Road Runners, reached out to me to let me know that her parents actually own a condo in Old Orchard Beach, which is where the race was being held. And offered to let us stay there. And so we took her up on that offer, and we had a nice condo. I stayed with Tim and his family. Tim is my training partner. And so we had a nice condo to stay on within walking distance from the beach. So it was great for all the kids and the family who we, truck along to all these events. So it was a nice location for them to take advantage of the beautiful, beautiful scenery that they have in Maine.
Wow. So
Yeah.
You're not too far away from that venue at all. How was the check-in process?
It was kind of crazy because, Old Orchard Beach in the summer is really popular, and there are a lot of people there just on vacation to begin with. And so add in, 1,800 triathletes and their families. And that's a lot of people. It's one of those small beach towns. There's basically one road into town and one road out of town. So it was a little congested, a little crowded. And at this particular venue, Ironman Village was in one location, and then the bike transition was about 3/4 of a mile down the road in a different parking lot. So it was a little confusing as to, okay, I have to go to Ironman Village to check myself in, and then I have to go down here to check my bike in, and then I have to walk all the way back to go back to my, get back to where I was staying. So it was a little hairy. It was a little dicey. Definitely a little more chaotic than some of the other races I've done, where everything's kind of more compact and all in one place.
Okay. That's your first time doing 7.3 Maine, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So how did you feel like logistically it was?
I thought it was super well organized. Like all Ironman events, it was really well organized. Once I figured out where the village was and where the transition area was, it was totally fine, and everything was really well organized. And as always, the volunteers were super helpful. Everybody that I stopped to ask a question about, where do I need to go for this, that, or the other thing, everybody had all the answers that I was looking for. So, it was definitely well organized and well put together, like all Ironman events. This event, actually, it's only the second year that Ironman has done this particular race. It was prior to 2017. It was a Rev 3 race. So I think a lot of the just infrastructure for how to run the day was set up through Rev 3, and the race still has a little bit of a Rev 3 vibe to it. I don't know if you're familiar with the race that Rev 3 does in Connecticut, the Quasi half Ironman. They call it the Beast of the East, but they have a very Medusa looking medal, and so the medal that we got was very Quasi-esque, I called it. And I think a lot of the volunteers transferred over from the Rev 3 side to the Ironman. Like, they stayed with the race even after the transition and the change of hands and race companies. So it just felt a little more like community, a little more like small town race than some of your bigger Ironman events. Yeah.
So you did take the athlete briefing?
I didn't go to the athlete briefing. I know it's mandatory, but I didn't go.
Oh,
I know.
Did you go? Did you research the athlete guide?
I did. I read the athlete guide. I checked out the beach. I knew where the transitions were. I knew I looked at all the course maps and everything like that. So, yeah, it's not my first rodeo. I figured I kind of know the drill.
You said transitions, so there's 2 transitions?
So, no, there was just one transition. There was Athlete Village where the finish line was, and then there was the transition area.
Because I was like, wait, transition?
Yeah, no, just the one.
Now, the day before the race, are you going to get in a certain workout before the race, or anything like that?
No, I'm just trying to take a nap and eat my carbs. That's it, the day before. 2 days before, I always do and make sure I get an open water swim. So usually in my training, I train 100% in the pool. I don't feel the need to get a lot of open water swim practice. I know a lot of people get like open water anxiety and need to do a lot of sighting practice and stuff like that, but I'm really comfortable in the water. So I don't incorporate a lot of open water swims in my training, but I do always on the Friday of a race weekend, make sure to get my wetsuit on and get in the lake. We have a lake locally that I'll just hop in and I just do 1,000 yards. And then I think I just did an easy spin for 45 minutes and then a 20-minute really easy run on Friday. And then I just shut it down.
Okay. Now, as far as the day before the race, you check your bike in the day before, drop it off, get everything ready as far as putting things in your bags and all that fun stuff.
Yep. So it was a little crazy this year. I think I mentioned how it was just really congested downtown, trying to get over to the transition and the check-in. So, we drove into town. It was too early to get into the condo. And so we just kind of pulled off into a little side street, and I hadn't even had my race wheels on my bike yet. And so we just there on the side of the road, I flipped my bike over, put my race wheels on, and then my husband just dropped me off. He had the kids. He took them to the beach, and I just found my way over to transition on my own, checked everything in. And then you just check your bike in. It's not like Ironman where you have to check in bags and stuff the day before. So I just checked my bike in, and then when we got back to the condo we were staying at later in the afternoon, I laid everything out, made sure I had everything that I needed for the day, packed it all in my bag, and just set it aside to get ready to take with me on race morning.
Nice. So that night, you try to go to bed at a certain time?
Yeah, I try to go to bed early. By 8 o'clock, the latest, at least be laying down and ready to sleep, just because this race had a really early wake up time. Our start time was a 6:20 a.m. start. And I think it was because they were working around the tides, because it was an ocean swim. And so they wanted us, I think low tide was at 5:59 or something. So they started us pretty close to low tide. So it was an early start. It was an early wake up call. I want to make sure that I get up with enough time to get my breakfast in, which is, you guessed it, more carbs. No, I don't do the applesauce. No, I don't do the applesauce. My body is good with, I do oatmeal and a bagel. And so that's what I stick with. So, and it keeps me full. And I have nothing I hate more than getting like 2 or 3 hours into a race and like feeling hungry. So oatmeal and a bagel keeps me full. So that was good. But to get that in, I want at least 2 hours to digest. So I was, up at 4, making sure that I was getting my breakfast in.
Okay. So were you kind of like peanut butter or honey?
I try to like really limit fats and proteins in the morning and the day before the race, and especially morning of. So I put like the tiniest little smear of almond butter on there, and then I actually just load it up with jelly because it's a lot of sugar and more carbs. So I'm just eating a bagel with jelly, and I put some maple syrup on top of my oatmeal. So carbs and more carbs in the form of straight up sugar. It's about a mile and a half. So my husband got up, and he drove Tim and I over to transition. We didn't have any trouble getting there. There was not as much. No, I really thought after the kind of chaotic day, the day before that, and all the traffic downtown, that there would be a lot of traffic. So we left pretty early, but, it wasn't so bad. We pulled up, he got a spot right next to the, transition. I was able to use my pump my tires, hand the pump back over to him, and then, he took off to go for his recovery run, and we got set up in transition.
Wow. So what happiest are you using?
I always pump up to 100. So that's what I did. That's where I'm comfortable. That's what works for me.
Okay. Now, for this race, are you using a certain depth of wheels?
I always race with my zips. I have a 404 in the front and a 808 in the back.
Okay. So you're only going to be using that for this race now.
That's right. I got a new bike. My Quintanaroo PR6 is in the garage. I'm going to get my fitting tomorrow. And so I'll have a set of Zip 302s on that bike.
Nice. So,
yeah. It's
how do you get this bike?
So I train with 2T2 Systems, and one of their sponsors is Quintanaroo, and they have a program where if you qualify for Kona, and you're a member of the team, then you get a free frame from Quintanaroo. And so I didn't quite take advantage of the free frame, but I did. If you elect not to take the frame, they have a really awesome discount program that you can take. So I basically just built my dream bike, and I got to work one-on-one with a representative from Quintanaroo, build my dream bike, and at a really, really great discount. And so, yeah, that's what I got. I have the PR6, black on black, disc brakes, all Dura Ace components, VI2 electronic shifters, and I have I have a set of aluminum standard wheels and then a set of the Zip 302 race wheels. So she's going to fly. I can't wait to get out there and try her.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Sure. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty basic. I'm just less is more. I don't like to have a lot of stuff. I think it just, I don't know. I just don't want to get too bogged down with stuff. So I try to keep it really basic. I mean, for the run, I had my sneakers and my race belt with my number on it, and my fuel. And then for the ride, I've just got my shoes, my helmet. I've got my hydration on the bike. I have a speed fill that holds 40 ounces. I fill that I use Gatorade Endurance. Number one, because it works really well for me. Number two, because it's on the course, which is just icing on the cake, makes it so much easier. And then I like Goo brand goos. I take one of those every 45 minutes, so I just put those on the bike. And that's it basically. And then I just have my wetsuit and my cap and goggles, and that's all I need.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you did a swim start.
Yeah, there were a lot of people in the water. A lot. I don't do a warm up swim.
Okay.
Nope, I never do. I don't need it. I just wait for the gun to get in the water.
Nice. So, how would you have prepared if this swim was delayed by an hour?
Oh man. Well, it's kind of hard because I was talking a little bit about how I time my breakfast, and I like to be sure that I'm eating 2 hours before the race, give or take. And so I know you don't really have that information ahead of time if they're going to delay the race. And so that would be a little bit of a challenge. Now I would have probably fueled too early, so I'd probably end up being a little nervous about that. And I take a goo 15 minutes before the start, so I would have just held on to that and probably just would have hung around getting more nervous if there were a delayed start.
Right, because what happened at Ironman on some block this year is
yeah, I know, it was an hour. Right. Right.
So, I mean, all of the nutrition plans that people had plan on the go.
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, but I think for me, the worst case scenario with the weather in the morning for the swim is a canceled swim. I'll take a delayed swim any day over a canceled swim, or a significantly shortened swim. So, I mean, I understand it's for everybody's safety. I know it was a fog issue in Mont Tremblant, and, sometimes it's thunder, lightning, all of that kind of stuff. So definitely, safety first. I don't want to be out there if it's not safe. So I totally understand. But yeah, it can cause a significant problem for fueling. That's for sure.
Right. So, where are you seating yourself in the lane?
I seated myself in the 30 to 33 minute area for the swim.
Okay. So the game goes off. How does the swim go for you?
The swim was really cool. It was an ocean swim. I've never done an ocean swim before. And it was, so I mentioned that they started us early because they wanted to take advantage of low tide. And so, I mean, the tide was really low and the mat for the start was up on the beach. And so it's just one of those really cool, there's some video footage on Facebook. I'll try to get it and send it to you of the start. It's really cool. But so, everybody's running down the beach, but then you get to the water and it's really low tide. So I looked at my watch and I actually, from when I started cross the mat to when I dove in to start swimming, do you want to guess how long I ran? No, time.
24
minutes. It was 1 minute and 30 seconds of running down the beach and through ankle deep water until I finally dove in to start to swim. So my first 100 split super fast because I basically ran it. Yeah, so it was cool, but it was fun. It wasn't choppy. I mean, we had a beautiful day. I mean, there were some waves. It is the ocean. But once you got past the breakers, it was pretty flat. I mean, there were maybe half foot, maybe a foot swells out there. But probably more from the safety boats than anything. Yeah, it was really flat, and it was a beautiful morning.
Yeah, you swimming straight east into the water? What was that look like?
So we swam out, and then, we swam out, I'm not sure exactly how far it was, maybe a quarter mile, and then we swam, we took a left, and we swam left. I don't know, I'm directionally challenged. I don't know if it was north, south, but we swam left. So that's probably north, right? Just thinking of where Maine is on the map. And then we probably swam that for maybe 3/4 of a mile and then turned back in towards shore for the last quarter mile.
Okay.
Yeah.
How far away is the swim start from the transition area?
So the transition area was closer to the swim finish. So it was a little bit of a longer walk to the start. They were closing transition at 6. For the 6:20 start to give everybody that 20 minutes to walk over to the beach. It didn't really take us that long. It probably took, 7 to 8 minutes to make the walk. So it wasn't too bad. But I would say it was probably close to half a mile to walk. Yeah, no, it wasn't bad. Yeah. So they were up on the beach, pretty far. And so it was the same thing on the way out of the water. The water got really shallow, and then it was a big long run through the ankle deep water and then back over the sand. And you kind of go up up a hill. It was like a big sand dune, and they were at the top. So they were still in the sand, but they had carpeting down. I mean, it got sandy with people running over it with sandy feet, but it wasn't terrible. I didn't notice that. I didn't feel like I was covered in sand. And, you know, looking around at the other athletes, I didn't feel like everybody was covered in sand. Like sometimes you see at the races, like you get on the bike course and everybody's just covered in sand. And it wasn't that way at all. So there was less sand than I anticipated there would be.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So you get to do one, you're in there for just over 4 minutes. How does your team go for you?
It went really smoothly. I was, you know, the run was, I think it's about a 1/4 mile run from when you actually get off the beach over to transition. And I felt really good on the run, and I was excited. It was a fun swim, and I had swum faster than I thought I was going to. So I was feeling amped. And I mean, I think I said the same thing when we talked about Placid too. That run when you finish the swim over to the first transition, it's always my favorite part of the race because I just feel like, oh, you know, you got through the swim, and I don't know, it's just really exciting. There's a lot of people in that condensed area when you're running by, and everybody's really excited to see everyone start coming out of the water. It almost feels like that's really where the race starts, because when you're swimming, it's kind of isolating. You've got your goggles on, you can't really see, you can't talk to other people, nobody's cheering, you're just literally out there in the middle of the ocean, basically by yourself. So it's really always one of the most fun parts of the race for me when you get out of the water and like can see the people and you get excited. So that was super fun. And then it was a really big parking lot where the transition was. And I didn't have any trouble finding my bike. I remembered where I was, which is good. I got right over there. And I got everything I needed, got my bike out, and off I went. It was a good transition for me.
Nice. Now, whenever you got to the bike, did you have a certain way that you wanted to take this bike ride from a strategic data perspective, or were you off market?
So I do have a power goal, which is usually around 150 watts. And then I always try to keep my RPMs as close to 90 as I can, and I kind of use that as my mental note of when I need to up and down shift. If I'm spinning at like 106 or something like that, I'll throw a couple of gears on. If I'm spinning, in the mid to low 80s, then I'll take a gear off so that I can spin a little faster. So I try to get close to 90. And so I think I actually ended up averaging about 175 or 179 watts for this race, which for me is a lot of power. I'm not a super high power athlete. I don't push a lot of power on the bike. So 179 watts for me was pretty good. And I think my RPM goal ended up being like 88 or 89. So I was able to, push that power and still keep keep spinning pretty fast, which I think was good. And this was a really different course than what I've ridden. I'm really used to riding hills. I'm from New England. It's just hilly here. So we ride a lot of hills in training. The previous weekend I had actually been up in Vermont, and I rode as my training ride, Smuggler's Notch, which was, I think I rode for 3 hours. I rode 53 miles. It was, about 4,000 feet of climbing. The Smuggler's Notch itself is a 10-mile climb that culminates in a 17% grade at the top. So, I mean, it was a beast of a ride. And so to get out there and face a 56-mile course with just over or under, depending on who you ask, I guess, 2,000 feet of climbing, I mean, that for me, that is a flat race. So I was really excited to get out there and see what I could do if I wasn't, crawling up a hill the whole time. And so I'm really happy with what I did. It was good.
So, once you're FTP and that makes you an FTP test before this race, did you have a good idea of where you're at? I
mean, I did an FTP test, like at the beginning of the year, but I don't remember what those numbers were. I just do it for my coach, and then they tell me, what the goals are for each workout, and I just let them take care of that. That's what I pay them for. Right.
Now, whenever you get to the bike course, are you doing anything as far as a massive preparation of how you're going to be on the bike for just under 2.5 hours or just over 2.5 hours, and make sure that you're focusing on a certain type of preparation? What's the same point?
Well, I mean, for this point, where I am in training, a 3-hour ride for me is a short ride. And so I don't really need to do anything special to get in a headspace for that kind of a ride. If I'm facing, like a 6-hour or 6-hour and 20-minute ride, then I kind of need to break it down into smaller chunks to kind of, make sure that I can wrap my head around getting through the whole thing. But for a 3-hour ride ish, you know, that to me is short. So I was excited to just get out there and have some fun.
Okay. Now, your nutrition plan, you're aiming for about 250 to 300 calories an hour, sounds like.
Yeah, I don't really count it in a calorie way, but I do try to get in about 30-ish ounces of Gatorade an hour, and then I take a goo every 45 minutes.
Okay. Now, whenever you actually got out on the course, how was the quality of the road?
It was great. Yeah, it was really great. Yeah, it was really good. The roads were quiet. It was like, you know, Maine countryside, not a lot of traffic. There were police details on every corner and every turn. Every turn had cones set up, so, you know, to keep the athletes from going off into the middle of the road. So, I mean, I think from a road quality and traffic control perspective, it was really, really well organized and really well done. I felt super safe, super well watched after out there. It was a really good ride, and it was just beautiful scenery.
Nice. So, the aid stations, how were they?
They were good. I didn't stop at any of them because I just didn't need to. I had everything that I needed with me for the day, for the ride. So I just kind of rode on through. But there were 3 aid stations on the course, and they had, you know, Gatorade, water, fuel, dip goos, bananas. I think they have cliff shots. So anything, you know, anything that you could need while you're out there, they had it for you.
Okay. Did you see how they were with flats?
I saw one person with a broken chain.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Like early on too. And I saw, you know, maybe 1 or 2 people with a flat. Not too many.
That's not too bad.
No, it's not too bad, all things considered, right?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
as far as the bike goes, is there anything you just want to be aware of that hasn't been this course before?
Let's see. Not really. I mean, it was a really nice course. The first, I would say most of the climbing was in the first half, but there were just rollers, really. I mean, so it was, you know, you might put a little bit of effort to get up a short hill, and then you could just kind of gain some speed on the way down and coast up the next hill, and maybe put in a little bit of effort at the top and then just coast right down and kind of, you know, rinse and repeat. So it was really nice. I counted, I only had to stand to climb 3 times. And they were, you know, short. I wasn't like I was climbing for miles and miles. I mean, I don't think there was any climb that went more than a mile. So it was nice. And all of that was really within the first half of the ride. So I made a mental note when I got to mile 28, I was averaging about 20.8 miles an hour. And then the second half of the ride was, you know, maybe there were a few rollers, but it was predominantly pancake flat or downhill. And so I managed to get my average speed up to about 21.6 miles per hour just on the second half of the ride. It's a fast ride. So I guess that would be my advice to anybody is, you know, get through the first half and then just be prepared in the second half to just, you know, lay the hammer down, and you can really crank out some good speed on the second half of that ride.
Wow, it seems like you've been running well on the flat courses versus the hilly course.
Yeah, I mean, I did great on the hilly course too. I'm a good climber. So like I said, I haven't done a lot of flat riding. So I was kind of excited to see, like, okay, what can I do? Can I maintain, you know, 22 or 23 miles an hour for a sustained period of time? And I mean, to get my speed to go up from 20.8 at the half to over 21 and a half by the time the ride was over. I mean, I was hauling along at like 23, 24 miles an hour for miles on end. And I mean, it was great. It was fun. That was really fun. It was like I was spinning around 90. Yeah. So it was fun.
So whenever you get ready to get off the bike, are you doing anything to start preparing to start riding?
I just try to, when I get to the last, you know, 2 or 3 miles, just if I've got any Gatorade left on my bike, to just get that down. Because I can't drink Gatorade when I run. I can drink Gatorade all day long on the bike. But when I run, just the movement of running and like the, you know, jostling in the stomach, the Gatorade just doesn't sit well. So I try to just get as much Gatorade down as I can, get all my Gatorade in. Because once I get off the bike, I'm done on the Gatorade. I'm switching to water. And it was getting warm and the sun was out, and you know, you don't really feel the temperatures when you're on the bike because you're getting a nice breeze, especially when you're clipping along at 24 miles an hour. It's very, very nice breeze coming at you. So yeah, that's all I try to do is just get the Gatorade down. And I mean, the running is my strength. I love to run. So I'm always really excited to get off the bike. And I know some people are like excited to get off the bike in a like, ooh, take my bike. I never want to see this bike again. Get me off the bike kind of way. And I don't feel that way because I love riding the bike, but I love running more. So I'm just always excited to get off the bike, to make it through another race without having a mechanical issue. And so, you know, the last mile or so, I'm just feeling stoked that I got through the ride, and I get to get out there and run now, which is, you know, what I like to do.
Nice. So you get to see two rides to go from here.
It went really well. Also, I just, you know, took my helmet off, bike shoes off, run shoes on. And then I have all my fuel and my race number on my race belt. So I just grab that and clip it on while I'm running out of transition, and off I go. It was really smooth. I do try to, you know, that's a female thing. You got to fix the hair. You know, you got to have a low ponytail on the bike so that my ponytail can go through my helmet. But then for the run, I prefer to have this high bun on the top of my head. So I use the first mile to fix my hair, which is good for two reasons. Number one, so my hair's not in my face, so I can look nice in the pictures. And number two, because I have a tendency to just like get really excited off the bike and run really fast for that first mile. And if my arms are up over my head trying to put my hair in a ponytail, I'm not going to be going as fast. So it's a good strategy to get myself to slow down for that first mile and not go nuts, not spike my heart rate and go crazy. So I always fix my hair the first mile to keep myself in check.
Wow. Now, whenever you start getting out of the run course, are you just using water, or are you using anything with caffeine? What are you using?
Yeah, so I take only a water at every water stop, but I also carry. So I took a goo at mile 2, and then I took another goo at mile 10, and then for every 2 miles in between there, I just eat one Cliff Block.
Okay. So you just get with it again.
Yep, I just have, so the race belt has the little like elastic loops, so I just preload the goo in there, and I can fit a whole sleeve of Cliff Blocks in there. So I take that, and I just have it around my waist, and it's super easy, super convenient. You just rip off what you need, and it's hands-free, which is nice.
Nice. Now, the run course here, did you have an idea of where you were as far as pricing goes? What is this about?
You know, I didn't have an idea, and I had anticipated that my ride would be a lot slower than it was. I knew I would be faster. So in Syracuse, I rode 2:57, and I had thought that maybe I'd be about 15 minutes or so faster without the climbing, and I ended up riding 2:33. So I was a lot faster on the bike than I thought I was going to be. And so, you know, when I had been talking to my husband the night before about, you know, where I would see him on the course, what his plan was for spectating that day, he was planning to come and watch me come in on the bike and go and head out for the run. But we just missed each other because I had come in a lot earlier than we thought. And, you know, the poor guy, he's trucking along, 2 kids. He's got Tim's family with us. So, you know, it's 2 adults, 4 kids. It's a lot of, you can't just make adjustments to your spectating plan on the fly when you've got that many kids in tow. And so anyway, I didn't see him, and he's usually my contact for, you know, he'll yell out where I am or how I'm doing and that kind of stuff. So I didn't have any idea, where I was, but I knew that I had biked well. I couldn't imagine that there were that many ladies in front of me, you know, biking much faster than a 2:30, right? Than a low 2:30. That's a pretty good time. And so I just started to run, and I just played a game of chase the ponytails. And anytime I saw one in front of me, I just made that my next target. And when I caught that ponytail, I just kept looking for the next one, and just did that all the way through. So I think there were 2 or 3 women that came out of transition the same time as me. And so I passed them right away, and then, you know, I just kept picking them off as I went.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how are you doing on the run course now? Say 5:8.
I felt great. The course was beautiful. It was really shady. There's a section that is on like an old rail trail. And that section is actually not paved, but it was really hard packed dirt and grass. So it was fine. It was like, basically, it was fine. It was just as good as running on pavement, maybe even a little more forgiving. And so, yeah, and it was nice and shady in there, nice and cool. And there's a little out and back section there. So I think that's always fun. You get to see, a lot of athletes, and say hello to everybody and, tell everybody they're doing a good job and that kind of stuff. So I enjoyed that part. And then, yeah, I think that takes you right up through about mile 10 or so, of the run. On the second loop, it's 2 loops. So, the course is, it's 2 loops, like I said, and it goes kind of in a circle, but then like at the top of the circle, there's a little out and back. And so on the first loop, I was on the way out and I saw, the lead woman, because she had a cyclist with her, and it said, lead woman on the bike. And she was maybe like a mile and a half ahead of me. And so once I saw her pass me on this out and back section, I just started to count the women that I saw after her. And I counted about 8 or 9 or so women. And so I knew, I was up there, but not as close to the front as I had thought I was, maybe coming off the bike. And so I finished, that section, and then I looped back around. Then around mile 6, you start out on your second loop, about 6.5. And I actually did see my husband there on the corner. And so I asked him, how am I doing? And he said, you're doing great. But he also said, I think you're in second for your age group. And I was like, okay, that's great. Well, I was really excited. Second age group, like that's good. Because in Syracuse, I finished 5th in the age group. So to be holding second halfway through the run, I was really excited. And I felt great. It was one of those, like, every once in a while you just catch a run where you just like don't even feel like you're running. It's just, you just feel good. So I felt really good. And, I knew I had a lot of gas left in the tank. And so I just kept going. And I was looking for, that only one person in my age group who was ahead of me, looking for the number on her calf. But by that point, there were a lot more runners on the course. So I'm out of my second loop now. The course is a lot more congested with people who are starting their first loop and the people who are out on their second loop. And it's hard to know who's on their first loop, who's on their second loop. So I knew I was still passing a lot of people, but it was a little harder to tell now if I was passing people and moving up in the ranks or just passing people who were still on their first loop. It was a little hard to tell. But when I got out to the that out and back section again, I started looking for the cyclist, and I thought, well, if the cyclist with the first place woman, if I don't see them on this little out and back, then she is running faster than me, and I'll never catch her. But if I do see her, that'll give me an idea of kind of where I am. Am I seeing her later or earlier than when I saw her the first time around? And so I did finally see her, and she was maybe like a half a mile ahead of me. So I knew that I had made significance. I was gaining ground. And then we came off the little out and back section. It was around mile 10. And so I run on heart rate only. I am like way too competitive with myself when it comes to running, and I can't look at my pace because I'll just get in my head about it. If I'm running fast, then I'll start to think, oh, I don't know if can I hold this pace? I'm running too fast. I'll get in my head about it. And if I'm running slow or slower than I think I should be running, then I'll just think, oh man, I'm slowing down. I'm never going to make it. It's like a real mental game for me. So I just changed all the settings on my watch. So even if I click any button, there's no pace on there whatsoever. It does come up when I click the mile, it tells you your pace for the previous mile. And I don't look. Pinky swear, I don't look. So I was just running based on heart rate alone through mile 10. And I was trying to keep it just like at the very top end of zone 1 and maybe into zone 2. So for me, that was like, I was trying to keep it between like 144 and 146 beats per minute. And then once I saw where the first place woman was, I told myself, well, just get those. And I was at maybe like mile 9.5. And I said, just get to mile 10. You can run 3.1 miles. Like, even if you start to run out of gas, you can run a 5K, right? I can run a 5K fast, even if it hurts. It's just a 5K. I do that all the time. And so I just told myself, get to mile 10 and then try to get your heart rate up. And so my goal was to get up into 150 and stay either at 150 or over if I could get there. so that's what I did. I just sped up. I got my heart rate up to right around 150. And I started asking the spectators how close the first place woman was, how far back am I? And we were on a hill, and they were like the one hill on the course. And a couple of the spectators said, "Oh no, she just went by. If you use the hill, you might be able to get her." And so I ran along, and then just around maybe mile 11 and a half, I saw the bike and the first place woman ahead of me, and I was gaining on them. So I just hit the gas and caught up and didn't look back after that. Yeah.
What was your emotion like whenever the cyclists are following you versus the other girl?
I mean, it was crazy. That's never happened to me before. And so I was thinking to myself, well, it was really crazy. And when I first saw the bike and knew like that it was getting closer, I was catching up. I just couldn't help myself. I said even to like some of the random people who were around me, like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna catch her." And they were like, "You are gonna catch her. Go get her." I mean, so it was just super fun, but I didn't know like, what's the etiquette here? Do I have to say something? Do I tell her, the cyclist? What do I say to the runner? Like, what is etiquette? I didn't know. And so I came up, and this volunteer on the bike had obviously been in this position before. And so she, said to me, "Are you on your second lap?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Okay, you're the new leader, so I'm going to ride with you." And she said, bye to the other woman who was running. I don't remember her name, which is awful. I should look it up because I want to find her on, Strava or Instagram or something like that. But, we exchanged words. I told that, she said, "Great job. I'm done. It's yours. Finish strong." I congratulated her on how well she'd been doing so far. So we had a really positive little interaction as I made the pass. And then I just ran to the finish. So it was, I did look at my watch to see the miles. It was out of mile 11.6 that I made the pass. And so I just had to make it, about a mile and a half, or so to the finish.
So you had a nice score for the last mile and a half.
Yep, I did. And we had a nice conversation. We talked about Placid. We talked about Kona. Her husband had just run Mont Tremblant the weekend before. He's trying to get to Kona. So yeah, we had a nice little chat along the way. So it was great. It was really fun. It was an experience.
Wow. So what is the head score back towards the last part of the run?
Yep.
Often you
finish it all on your own.
Yep. It was really, really fun. I actually, right before I hit the chute, I saw a friend who I run with locally who had actually been registered to do the race, but then decided not to do it. She just couldn't make it work logistically for the whole weekend, but she did come up just for race day to support. And I hadn't seen her at all when we were up there. And so then I saw her and she saw me and she was like, "Oh my God, Missy, like, you're going to win the race." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. This is kind of crazy, huh?" So that was really cool seeing her. And then I ran down the chute and there was a huge crowd and everybody was cheering and they held up the tape and I went through the finish. And I didn't even hear what the announcer said, if he said my name or said, well, I don't know what they said, but yeah, it was loud and it was fast and it was fun.
Wow. So you go through, you get your photo and then you get a cap and all the little fun stuff there.
Yeah.
Did you do a champagne shower or anything like that?
No, they didn't do anything like that. It wasn't, there were no pros at the race either, so I think they do some of that fancy stuff when it's a pro race. So no, I didn't get anything of that. But I did get a plaque. I did get a plaque at the end, for winning the age group. They didn't do any announcements for overall winners, but I did get to stand on the podium for the age group. So that was really cool.
Nice. So you stayed around for the road ceremony.
I did. Yep.
So what was this like?
It was great. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just like the roll down for Kona. They do all the age group awards and then they start with the slot allocation for the World Championship 70.3 slots. And so they call the names and, you get they call your name 3 times. You get your chance to come out there and take your spot, or let it roll down to the next person. So there were a couple of categories where it rolled down a little, but for the most part, the slots went to the either depending on how many they had for each age group, they went to the first or second person.
Wow.
Yeah. I did take the slot. Yep. So it's for 2019, September. I think it's September 5th and 6th is the weekend in Nice, France. So that'll be cool.
Wow, so not only did you get your Kona slot this year, but you also got the slot to go World 70.3 as well.
That's right. It's been a big year. Yeah.
So, looking back on it, how prepared for this race do you think you were? I mean, you obviously won, but you feel like you were as prepared as possible?
You know, I didn't feel that prepared. Not that I'm not prepared, but I think that the training has just been so much more intense leading up to Lake Placid this year. And so it's definitely been less intense. And I think I'm just used to the intensity being so high, training for the full. And so I just wasn't sure how it would go. And you know, the fitness was there when I turned it on. It was there. You know, I asked, and my body answered, and it was, the fitness was there. So I'm happy with how I performed.
Now, what's the only part of this race or yourself that you don't pass on by someone who hasn't done this course before?
Well, I think that there, if you're, you know, at all anxious about the ocean swim, to get out there and practice in the ocean, because it definitely is a bit of a different experience with the current and the waves. Like I said, we were lucky that we got a nice, calm weather day. But I can see how the ocean swim can be really challenging if there is waves or a strong current. And also just, I didn't realize how much water I tend to drink when I'm swimming and with the salt water, you know, so I learned to just keep my mouth closed a little bit more. You know, so if you think you might be a little more anxious about a saltwater swim or an ocean swim as opposed to a freshwater swim, to, you know, get out in the ocean and just make sure you're comfortable first. And then, that to just really take advantage of the downhill in that last section of the ride. And the run is beautiful and mostly flat, so you can push it on the run in this course.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm telling all my friends to do this course. It was a great course. If you want, you know, at least for local to where I am, a local race where you don't have to, you know, travel too far, and you can it's a fast course. So I think it's a must do for anybody in New England.
Wow. Now, if you could change anything about your race experience here, what would you change?
I don't know that I would change anything. I can't at all be upset with the result for the day. So I think that if I were to do it again, I would do it exactly the same way. And, you know, I want to have fun out there on the day of the race. You do all this work, you know, at 4 a.m. in your basement by yourself. And, you know, that's the training. The race is the fun part. And so if I'm not having fun while I'm out there all day, then it's not worth it. And I, you know, distinctly remember being in the ocean doing the swim and thinking, this is pretty cool. This is really fun. I'm swimming in the middle of the ocean. Here I am. And the ride, you know, I was having a lot of fun, and I always have fun on the run. And so it was just a really fun day. And I think that is like so important. If you're not you got to have fun. You got to have fun with it. Racing is the fun part.
Wow, that's great. So how can I make your race experience better?
I don't think that there's too much Ironman could have done. I always think that this is why I do Ironman events. You know, you're getting a well-organized race. You know, you're going to be safe. You know, the courses are going to be marked well. You just know what you're getting with Ironman, and it's just always a really well-organized event. So I don't really think that there's anything that they could have done differently or better that would have made my race experience better. Maybe the champagne shower, but I guess that's it.
Was this complicated for you?
No, it wasn't complicated at all. No, I mean, the only thing that was complicated was how congested it was in town on Saturday, the day before the race. But I think I think Old Orchard Beach on a Saturday in the summer is just congested. You know, whether they're having an event or not.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we covered quite a bit about your race. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I can't think of anything else. I mean, it was a great race experience. Like I said, I'm just out there to have fun. And I come away from every race with, you know, 5 or 6 new Facebook friends and new people to follow on Strava. And I just love the race experience and the vibe and transition in the morning when everybody's getting ready. And then at the end when everybody's packing up, you know, it's just fun. It was just a great day.
Wow. So looking back on it, this was like a great race, great experience, and you get yourself a race. You can't really expect much more from the
Right. I'm not doing anything in between now and Kona. I am going to support a couple of friends who are running a marathon in 2 weeks just locally. So I'll do that. But no, I am just putting the blinders on, taking it one day at a time, putting in the work, and then getting myself to the beach there and seeing what I can do in the big leagues.
Nice. So, what's your expectations for Kona? This is your first time. What do you expect?
I mean, honestly, my expectations are that I will be crushed by the competition and the course. Like, realistically, those are my expectations. I just think it's a whole different ball game out there. Number one, it's a tough course. There's a lot of climbing on the ride. There's a lot of climbing on the run. There's no shade. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. It's an ocean swim with no wetsuit, and it's one loop. You swim a mile and a half, a mile 0.2 out, and then you swim a mile 0.2 back. So, you've got currents to deal with, jellyfish to deal with. I mean, my expectations are low. Like, I just want to finish out there and have a good day. I'm going to train hard, and I want to get out there and have the best day that I can have on the course. If the swim is challenging, I still want to do the best that I can with the circumstances. But I'm not naive enough to think that I'm going to get out there and, win the age group. No, I mean, maybe if I could come in top 30 in the age group, I would be over the moon with that. On that level, on that stage, to be even top 50 would be incredible. Even just to finish, depending on the conditions, would just be incredible. So I just want to get out there and have the day that I train for, perform the best that I can based on whatever conditions are thrown at us that day. And get that medal and the pride that goes with it, for a lifetime. So it's going to be crazy.
Wow. Now, as far as your bucket list, you've been in sport for quite some time. What races are on your bucket list? I mean, you're going to freaking championship 70.3.
I know, it's kind of hard to have any more than that. But, I think I've been thinking about it a lot, and this year has really been kind of a breakout year for me. I have never performed this well before, so I feel like I'm really hitting my stride, with just where my, baseline level of fitness is and how I've just figured out the nutrition. I mean, I think nutrition is so important, both race day nutrition and also just regular nutrition when you're asking your body to do so much during training. And that's the kind of thing that it's really specific person to person, and you can really only figure it out through trial and error. And I feel like I've made a lot of progress in figuring out what works well for me to keep myself fueled for training and also through racing. And I think that that's had a big impact on how well I've been able to perform this year. And so I'm excited now that I've got that good baseline fitness. I've got that good nutrition strategy figured out. To just see how I can build on that. I think I have a lot of room to grow on the bike. I'm still relatively new to cycling. I feel like I've got the biggest room to still take off a hunk of time on the bike. If I can drop 10 or 15 minutes from my bike ride, that's pretty significant. So I think I want to just focus on that and see what I can do to improve my bike. And then, I would say my bucket list races are, to just get out there and see how I can do if I go to maybe some 70.3s that do have a pro field. How can I stack up when the competition is a little, more significant, when the pros are out there? Where am I gonna land? And so I'm interested to see what the future holds in that regard. So that's kind of my bucket list, is to just push it as far as I can and see, how I can stack up in more competitive fields.
It seems like you always want to go pro instance.
I mean, I don't think that I'm there yet, but with the progress that I've made, I just want to push my body as far as I can go and get the best out of myself that I can. And if that, gets me to meet a pro standard, then great. And if it doesn't, at least I tried, So I just want to take it as far as I can and push myself as hard as I can. And I love the sport. I love the work, and I get a lot out of it, just the way that I enjoy it. And it makes me, it makes me happy in my life to feel that I'm doing this and I'm making progress and I'm working hard. I just enjoy those aspects of it. And so I want to, I just want to see what happens. train as hard as I can and see what happens.
Okay. So why do you do endurance sports in the first place? I mean, you could stick with 70.3 or even that big or spend have more time with your family and not train so much. So why do you do the long stuff? Why do you do this?
I just like it. I think like a lot of people who do it, I'm a very kind of type A personality, and I'm just the kind of person that, you point me in the right direction and just tell me to go, and I'm just going to go. And when it comes to like short distance, I'm not the fastest runner. I'm not going to, I haven't broke 20 in a 5K. I don't swim very fast in a short race. I try to swim fast and my form just goes terrible and I end up swimming slower. I'm not a very high powered cyclist, but I can go for a really long time, like you don't need to go the fastest for 112 miles. You just need to be really consistent. You don't need to go the fastest for 26.2 miles. You just need to be consistent. And so I'm just good at being consistent. And that's what I enjoy. So that's kind of why I just stick with the endurance stuff. I like it. I just do better. I need a warm up, a really long warm up.
So when you look at your training, just in general, when was the last time you actually found a very bottom of your barrel, so to speak?
It's kind of funny because I will have training days where I just like don't have a great day, and I'll get out there and it's a struggle to run like a 7:45 mile and, you just don't feel great. But for racing, I don't think I've gotten to the bottom of the barrel yet. I did when I did Placid, in 2017, I wasn't well fueled and I ran out of gas on the run. And so that was probably, I was out. The tank was empty. I was done. I couldn't feel my arms. I had dry mouth. I vomited. Like I was out of gas. But it was very evident that was a fueling issue and not a training issue. And so I really, going into this year, just made, took a hard look at my nutrition and tried to tweak things here and there. And I've been working with a registered dietitian. Her name's Laura Moretti out of Boston. She's also a 70.3 athlete. So she really understands the needs of a triathlete. And she has just been super helpful for me in, understanding what your body needs for fueling, for training and for racing, and helping me to figure out what that right balance of carbs, protein, and fat is going to be for me specifically. So that's been really eye-opening and really, really helpful. And since I've been doing that, and leading into the races that I've had this year, I haven't hit the bottom of the barrel. I could have run another 2 loops of that run on Sunday. I could have run 5 more miles after I finished Placid this year. So, I'm excited. That's exciting for me. And that's what I mean about pushing it as far as I can. Maybe I should have looked at my pace on Sunday. I get in my head about pace, but maybe I should have run it faster. Maybe I should have tried to take 15 seconds a mile off or something like that. So, I think that's really exciting. And, my husband, and he's a really fast marathoner. He's a 2:37 marathoner, and he's trying to break 2:30. And we talk all the time about how, when at his level, you got to just go big or go home. And if he's going to try to break 2:30, he needs to go out hard for the whole marathon. And he's either going to have an awesome day or a terrible, miserable day. You're either going to hit it or you're going to crash and burn. So I think that's like the philosophy that I need to apply for myself, not for Kona, but maybe for some races next year. Maybe for some races next year, just get out there and really just let it rip for the whole race. Try to drain the tank, and just see what happens. Maybe you have a breakout day, or maybe you have the worst day of your life, but at least you got out there knowing the tank was empty, right?
Yeah. So what races are you thinking about doing next year? You mentioned Texas or Santa Rosa.
Yeah, I haven't done any planning yet, and I really don't want to until I get through Kona. And I feel like I just need that to be my singular focus for the next 7 weeks. So I don't want to think too far ahead. Other than Nice, obviously now, so I do have that on the calendar. I had been thinking about doing Mont Tremblant full in 2019, but now Nice is just 2 weeks after that for the 70.3 World Championship. So I don't think that's going to work out for me. So I'll have to, once I get through Kona, I'll have to sit down. I want to talk to my coaches and just see what we think the best races are going to be for me for next year. I'm going to run the Boston Marathon in April, and then Nice is in September. So I'll have to see, just timeline-wise, what works out, and what races I can put on the calendar. So you can find me on Facebook or on Instagram. It's just Missy Norcross on both, and you will find some pictures of my training and lots of pictures of my puppy.
Awesome. So, we got to know what you're doing for perfect races. We'll go ahead and knock up the next question, which is, in order of importance, on race day, which ones do you find more important? Mental grit, nutrition, or endurance?
You want me to rank them?
Yes.
All right. The number one, hands down, most important is nutrition. Nutrition. It's so important. And like I said before, it's so hard to figure out, so hard to get that right. So number one, nutrition. Number two, endurance. Because if you're not ready, if your body is not ready, there's no amount of mental grit that's going to get you through it. So you need to be ready, endurance, number two. And then number three is mental grit. Because if you are out there and you're trying to empty the tank, it's not a matter of if it's going to get tough. It's just a matter of when it's going to get tough. And so you need to be ready mentally for when it gets tough. Hopefully you can push that off as long as possible. But it is going to get tough. And so you need to be ready mentally to push your body and to tell your brain, no, my legs don't hurt. I'm going to keep running, and push through. So yeah, so I would say nutrition and, endurance and then mental grit.
Well, thank you so much, Missy, for coming on and sharing everything. I've enjoyed talking to you again. I can't wait to hear how Kona goes.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. I'll keep you posted. And thank you for having me back. I love to talk about races, so I really enjoy just spilling my guts about races.
You're welcome. Well, you have a good day. We'll talk soon, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you were able to learn something from today's episode. If you enjoy the show, please take a minute to leave a review on iTunes or share it with a friend. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to see pictures from this athlete's race, learn more about who I am, what I'm doing, or be on the show yourself to share your story, check out my website at CoachTerryWilson.com. Until next time, continue the pursuit.